evening all. Welcome in this fantastic series of Emirates New Changes with JCAF. We welcome you all the participants and all the galaxy of speaker. Let us start this with our Naukar mantra. So I'm going to read the same. Hope it is audible all.
Kiral, your voice
has not started.
dance has started.
किसने लाखों को तारा, इस महामंत्र का जाप करो, भवजल से मिले किनारा। नमो अरिहंताणम, नमो सिद्धाणम, नमो आयर्याणम, नमो उवच्छायाणम। नमो लोए सर्वसाहुरम, ईसो पंचनमुक्तारो सर्व पावपणासनो, मंगलानं च सर्वेषि प्रणमः वै मंगलम्।
So welcome friends once again, and today we are very fortunate that we have just a second.
Virag bhai, your bandwidth is low, it is showing.
Yes. So friends, welcome once again, and we have our own WRC treasurer with us, Jayesh Kalaji, for today's our welcome address. Sir is a founder partner and have a more than 20 plus year of experience in many more. Sir is not required any introduction still. As a part of our formal introduction, would like to introduce sir. Sir is handled several assignments relating to statutory audit of corporate insurance companies, banks, and handled several assignments relating to raising finance, restructuring, valuation, M&A, and more than 16 years of experience in the field of income tax, domestic and international. Sir has rendered advisory, planning, and compliance services for corporate and SMEs on income tax matters, has extensive experience in the presenting cases before various appellate authorities, including ITAT, Income Tax Appellate Tribunal. Sir is a regional council member for 1922. There was a Vikasa chairman in 1920, a member of many committees as a part of RCM, also our own JCAF director, founded chief patron member of Jain International Trade Organization at Mumbai at Goregaon chapter, advisory board member at VT International School, visiting faculty at Elphinstone College, Mumbai for tax and financial accounts in the past for more than 15 years, visiting faculty as IST Institute for Accountancy for around 3 years, visiting faculty for accountancy and many places as visiting faculty and guest lecturer, treasurer at Lions Club, director of Lions Club, chairperson of finance committee at Lions Club Western. Sir has authored so many books as well. So with this brief introduction, we welcome you, sir, for today's welcome address. So over to you, Jay, sir.
Thank you, Virag bhai, for this wonderful introduction. मुझे तो ऐसा लग रहा था मैं ही आज का स्पीकर हूँ जो हिसाब से आप बोल रहे but my role and it's really जब JCF की जर्नी मुझे ध्यान है करीबन 15 मेरे ख्याल से 15 एक साल हो गए होंगे JCF की जर्नी शुरू हुए और तब से ये चल रहा था और कोचर जी ने इसकी बागडोर संभाली आज से करीबन 4 साल पहले। उसके बाद उनको उनके डेडिकेशन एंड उनका कमिटमेंट को देखकर उनको एलिवेट किया गया अपेक्स प्रेसिडेंट की राह पर। मुंबई का प्रेसिडेंट अनदर डायनामिक पर्सन प्रदीप कपाड़िया जी को बनाया गया और तब से मैं देख रहा हूँ कि जो स्पीड से कमिटी मेंबर अमृत जी, बाफना जी, विराग भाई, एवरीबडी सो डेडिकेटेडली, Ankit, everybody is so dedicatedly involved in providing value addition to the members attached with JCF. मतलब it is really speechless that during this pandemic year जब सब सोच रहे हैं कि भाई कैसे करना है, क्या करना है, मतलब everybody is thinking of himself कि भाई how to get the things completed, how to get job, how to काम कैसे मिलना है और जो मिला हुआ काम उसको कैसे complete करना है, कैसे डेडलाइंस को मीट करना है, वो सब खुद के इश्यूज को, जो सिर्फ खुद के इश्यूज के बारे में सोचते हैं, वहां पर हमारे जेसीएफ के कमिटी मेंबर है जो खुद से थोड़ा ऊपर अपने पूरे सारे चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट ब्रदर्स एंड सिस्टर्स के बारे में सोच रहे हैं कि कहीं पर भी वैल्यू एडिशन का चेन ब्रेक नहीं होना चाहिए। ऑल्दो आज के तारीख में पेंडेमिक में वी आर बिलीविंग इन ब्रेकिंग द चेन, बट एटलीस्ट इन जेसीएफ वी आर बिलीविंग इन मेकिंग द चेन of value addition so that जो भी updates आए वो कहीं पे भी छूटे नहीं इस pandemic में। Hats off to the entire team of JCF which is led by कोचर जी and प्रदीप कापड़िया जी, बहुत ही अच्छा काम कर रहे हैं and my always best wishes and support to the JCF and entire team। एंड जो विराग भाई ने सबसे पहले मेरा इंट्रोडक्शन ऐसे दिया था कि आई एम WIRC ट्रेजरर, बट विराग भाई जस्ट आई एम सॉरी बट पहले मेरा इंट्रोडक्शन ऐसा होना चाहिए कि आई एम पार्ट एंड पार्सल ऑफ JCF, उसके बाद मेरी जर्नी शुरू होती है। सो थैंक यू वेरी मच फॉर इनवाइटिंग मी, थैंक यू वेरी मच। ओवर टू यू।
Thank you so much, sir. Yeah, thank you so much, sir. Now would like to introduce our own JCF president, and it's my proud pleasure to tell you all that today we got the opportunity sir is a senior partner at KFB and Company Chartered Accountant. Sir was a past president of Goods and Service Tax Practitioners Association of Maharashtra, which we can now call it as GST PTM. A president at present at Jain Chartered Accountant Federation, Mumbai. Past district governor at Lion 323A, Lions Club International, and past multiple council treasurer District 323. Member of the board of Concern of Mumbai, which is a non-government organization, on the board of listed company as well, managing trustee of KPN trustee and Spread a Smile Trust and a permanent trustee of LC of Valkeshwar, past special executive magistrate. Also, sir is a family background, is coming from a where sir's father is a freedom fighter and a social worker, was appointed Justice of Peace, SCM and SCO. He was on the board of Chandawadi Cremation and Vice President of Jain Seva Sangh and Trustee of Khambat Educational Trust. Was popularly known as a Rashtrapita in Sea Ward, Mumbai, Chowk at Picket X Road, Mumbai. Has been named in his memory. So with this, we welcome you, Kapadia sir, for this chairman of this session. Would like to request you to give your special remarks.
Thank you, Virag, for your nice introduction. But I think as a president of this association, there was no need for an introduction. If introduction is required, then I need not have been a president. But anyway, thank you. I think my wife was listening and she was happy that I am doing something. Great, great. Thank you very much. And happy evening and Jai Jinendra to everyone. And I'm really happy in this change role. Usually I always welcome people and today I am being welcomed. So ये मैं कहूँगा ये एक ऐसा एहसास है जो किसी शब्दों में किसी बयां ना हो सके पर मुमकिन है, बट उसको तो सिर्फ हम एक एहसास कर सकते हैं जो आज मैं कर रहा हूँ. एंड द सेकंड हैप्पी फीलिंग इज शेयरिंग द डैश with learned speaker CA Hiral Shah and our treasurer, though he doesn't wish to call as a treasurer of WRC, Jayesh Kala, and all my other members of my JCAF. I'm very happy to be with you on this virtual platform. And let me tell you, yes, Hiral, he has been a very good friend of mine. He has been with me in my managing committee of GST PM for last more than 5 years, and he has been also in my managing committee in JCF for last 3 years. So, and let me tell you, Hiral is just not an expert on GST, but he is an excellent IT man. Let me hear the vision that he had. He has 4 years back started the webinar in GST PM. This is what we started 4 years back, webinars. So I think he was a pioneer for our GST PM. How we have Virag in JCF. He was also a pioneer, and his knowledge about I think GST, you will today see what he can speak about it. And let me tell you, whatever the topic today is, the recent amendment in GST laws and rules. Let me tell you, it comes with a disclaimer. Why I'm saying with a disclaimer? Because the changes that are happening in the GST laws is a mind-blowing. It's mind-blowing. Up to now, let me tell you, 747 notification, 157 circulars, 18 orders, that comes to nearly 916. And that also is only in GST, let me tell you. And in SGST, there are another plethora of notification circulars, and like what we have in Rajasthan, they have now made e-way bill limit to 1 lakh rupees. That sort of state also gives their own notifications and circulars. So now I think that GST has completed 1,396 days. There are more than 1,396 circulars and notification, let me tell you. And so it is like, you know, it comes to more than 1 per day. That is what, so anyone who speaks about the recent changes or amendment in the law, he has to make it a disclaimer stating that whatever I am stating today is up to 8 p.m. 8 p.m. today, because you don't know what will happen tomorrow. So that is what Hiral will have to make a disclaimer. मैं तो हमेशा ये कहूंगा, मेरी हर खुशी के साथ लगाकर आता है तू ए दर्द, तू भी मुझे GST सा लगता है, तू भी हर GST सा मुझे लगता है. I always say that they have delivered a premature baby and they have kept it in the incubator, and every day they go on injecting it and see that it becomes a simple and good text. But मुझे तो बहुत कहते हैं one nation, one tax, but they have divided into like 22nd day of consecutive month ये file करेंगे, 24th ये territory file करेगी, then 500 crore above ये करेंगे, 500 crore below ये करेंगे, like then 50 crore some people would be doing above, they will have to give the code numbers, 50 crore and less will give so many digits. They have been dividing the nation. I think they though they call it as one nation, one tax, but let me tell you why they are doing all this. They are just mapping up. They are spreading their wings. And I'm telling you, it is very difficult. Now they have all the information which is required for them to trace out anything, let me tell you. So I would request everyone not to play with the fire. And let me tell you now, they have brought some amendments in which even our chartered accountants would come into problems. That I will speak later also about it. And so I would just tell you to be careful about the way they are looking into everything. They are connecting it with all other laws, customs, their notifications, then they are having other income tax and all that. They are merging it and they have all the informations. It would be like once you are there, they will give you all your history, what you are doing, what you have done up to now. So be careful. Don't play with it. And about now, when Hiral will be speaking on the recent amendment, and as and when I want to add something, I would be adding it. And in the end, I will come out with some of the draconian provisions that they have inserted into this finance bill, and they have given now wide powers to the commissioner, which I will speak later. So I would request everyone to be careful while even taking the assignment. You should have the KYC of your dealers to be on the safer side. This is what is my request, and I would now request Virag to navigate the proceedings further. Thank you very much, and I will come as and when required. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, President sir. We all are loving your presidency, and we are allowed to be work under you, sir. As a part of formality, we have introduced you, sir. So we all know you, and you are we love to work under you, sir. So now it's my proud privilege to introduce Hiral Bhai Shah. Much spoken about, sir, as sir has introduced this webinar 4 years back at GST BTM. Let me tell you that sir has also started in JCAF also, and also at WRC also. Even at that time, chairman and treasurer sir also appreciated the role of Hiral Bhai, that sir has started this and helped the other all the institute and the organization as well, including WRC and JCF. So Hiral Bhai, we are very thankful to you. Hiral Bhai is a practicing chartered accountant since 2006. Sir has also completed MCOM LLB from Mumbai City. Sir is also a DISA qualified. Sir has done many certification courses from our institute, to name a few: arbitration and conciliation, concurrent audit of banks. Sir is a professional socio commitment as a managing committee member of the Goods and Service Tax Practitioner Association of Maharashtra, Jain Chartered Accountant Federation, and Tax Foundation Academy. Subcommittee member at the Chamber of Tax Consultant, Mumbai. Member of Digital Accounting and Assurance Board Committee of WRC WRC of ICAI for the year 2021. Sir is a regular faculty at the above organization and other association like Bombay Stock Exchange, Broker Forum, Dhule Tax Practitioner Association, Top Foreign Residential Association, Rotary Club, Thane downtown, and has provided lecture in the income tax department as well. So, sir, with this small introduction, sir has authored many books also on GST law and cooperative society housing law, and also co-authored publication FAQ on charitable institute, charitable trust also, which is published by JCAF. So, with this introduction, we welcome you, Hiral Bhai, and would like to request you to take the proceeding ahead.
I would thank JCAF, specifically right from Kochar ji, Pradeep Bhai Kapadia, Virag Bhai, Jayesh Bhai, Amrit Porwal ji, Punit Mehta ji, everybody for having faith in me and inviting me for the lecture. Pradeep Bhai introduced me as a friend, a dear friend, but I would say, sir, we are your students, we are learning from you. We want to walk on your footsteps so that we can also achieve something great in life. Now coming, let me come to the subject proper. Recent changes in GST laws and rules. As Pradeep Bhai said earlier, that whatever changes are there day to day, with the disclaimer that it is valid on 28th April 2021. The date is mentioned on my presentation as well, though I forgot to mention the time, sir. So this presentation is valid for today, and let's hope that the same presentation remains valid for at least a month's time. So, and we don't hope to see any changes further. Yes, we have day-to-day changes in the GST laws. Every day something or the other is coming in. However, as of now, we shall discuss the major changes which have been effective from 1st April, or certain which have retrospective effect. Agenda for today: e-invoicing, which is for applicable from 1st April. The SAC and HSN codes to be mentioned in the invoicing and the returns as well. And certain other important amendments will be taken up. First, e-invoicing. Generally, what people understand from e-invoicing is कि हम लोग डेटा डालेंगे और जैसे ई-वे बिल निकलता है डिपार्टमेंट की साइड से ई-वे बिल आ जाता है वैसे ही ई-इनवॉइसिंग आएगा. We'll feed in the data, garbage in, garbage out. But that is not the case over here. Here we would have to, in most cases, we would have to have a software which would generate a specific file which would be uploaded on their invoice registration portal on the GST portal, the invoice registration portal, and then in turn we will be given an invoice reference number. So that invoice reference number has to be mentioned on our tax invoice, and the e-invoice has to be digitally signed. On the e-invoice, there should also be a QR code which would be mentioned on the invoice. So the e-invoice has to be generated. However, that e-invoice concept is not a new concept from 1st April 2021. It is the concept which has now almost 7 months now. From 1st October 2020, the e-invoicing was made mandatory for taxpayers whose aggregate turnover was exceeding 500 crores. If 500 crores was the turnover, then you had to generate an e-invoice. From 1st October 2020, it was mandatory. Then came the second leg. They introduced the entire thing in bits and pieces. So the second leg came from 1st of January 2021. So पहले बड़े लोगों को लिया 500 करोड़ के ऊपर, फिर 100 के ऊपर है तो e-invoicing mandatory. Then they wanted to continue this further. However, with effect from the date is erroneously mentioned. With effect from 1st April 2021, any taxpayer whose aggregate turnover was exceeding 50 crores, those people had to issue an e-invoice. So for which transaction types, all the transaction types, may it be B2B, B2C, exports, deemed sales, anything, if the aggregate turnover is exceeding 50 crores, then an e-invoice has to be generated. What all would be covered under e-invoice? Not just your tax invoice, even your debit notes and credit notes would be considered under e-invoicing only. So everything is immediately linked. They do not want to link anything later on. However, this e-invoicing is not applicable to whom? One, if your threshold limit, that is, if your aggregate turnover is below 50 crores, then there is no need for e-invoicing. Then there are certain other specified businesses which they have said that e-invoicing would not be applicable to them. Those specified businesses are SCZ unit, a unit in the special economic zone, insurer, banking company, financial institutions, NBFCs, goods transport agency service, passenger transport service, and admission to multiplex for films. These specified categories are categorically kept out of the e-invoicing platform. However, so e-invoicing is applicable to these people. So we say ki, it doesn't matter, our turnover is below 50 crores. How are we bothered with it? It's okay. We don't have to generate e-invoice, so we need not study this topic also. हिरल भाई ये बोल रहे हैं थोड़ा चाय पी के आते हैं, थोड़ा नाश्ता खाना खा लेते हैं, but no, the draconian provision here is that if I am a service provider, okay, I'm taking some service from a person who is eligible for e-invoicing, however, it does not issue e-invoice. So the provision, the draconian provision which I'm talking about is that if the opposite party who is supposed to issue me an e-invoice does not issue me an e-invoice, then I would not be able to claim my input tax credit. My input tax credit would be blocked. I don't have to issue e-invoice. The opposite party had to issue, but he did not issue an e-invoice. So the liability comes onto my head. Even they would collect the tax from that person also and from me also. But that is what the provision says. So the next step therein, how would I come to know? A general mindset is, how would a person come to know whether the opposite party is covered under e-invoicing or not? So at times, what we advise our clients is, if you have even 1% of a doubt, ask the opposite party to give you an undertaking that no, our aggregate turnover is not above 50 crores. So we are not supposed to issue e-invoice and we are issuing a normal tax invoice. In case of any liability, it would be borne by you. Some kind of an undertaking, though this kind of an undertaking would not be 100% sure, but at least if the party is issuing that undertaking, they will doubly think अरे हाँ अपना applicable है कि नहीं है. तो अपने आप वो लोग सोचेंगे कि applicable है नहीं है. अगर है तो वो उसके लिए registration ले लो और e-invoice issue करो. So this is something which we need to really keep a tap upon. Plus, and a party is supposed to issue an e-invoice or not, the list of those parties are also available on the website where we can check and come to know that, okay, e-invoicing is applicable to this person or no.
And I think, Hiralbhai, one thing,
Yes, sir.
there is an interactive portal also there. You can discuss it and you can get it also that from your dealer status you will get. So that portal also now is already open. So you can verify that also from there.
Thank you, Chairman, sir.
Yeah.
Then there is a dynamic QR code on B2C transactions. So they had introduced this concept that a dynamic QR code has to be there on a tax invoice for B2C transaction, business to consumer. So, however, they had kept it in abeyance. Okay, let's not introduce it from 1st December. We will do it up to 31st March. Then they have made it 1st July. However, the point to be worth noting is that they have not extended the entire duration. They don't say कि 500 करोड़ के ऊपर वाली जो parties है उसको B2C transaction के लिए हम लोग बाहर रख रहे हैं, dynamic QR code के लिए नहीं. That is not the case. It is only that they have stated that there would be no penalty for non-compliance of dynamic QR code. They are not extended the date. They have just said we will not take penalty from you. The penalty which was really big in terms of number when it comes. So they have just stated that we will not collect penalty from you. That doesn't mean that the date is extended. It is just the levy of penalty is extended. Then connected with this e-invoice thing, we have GSTN issued an advisory wherein they say ki, your e-invoices that you have generated, that would be auto-populated for your GSTR1 returns. See, basically in GSTR1 returns, what are we giving them? The details which we give them are just the invoice details. So if an e-invoice is generated, the details are already given to them, then they are auto-populated in GSTR1 return. So they said they themselves are very confident. The GSTN is very confident of their inefficiency, confidently their inefficiencies. So they issued an advisory. Don't wait for the auto population of e-invoices. You keep on preparing your GSTR1. and please don't wait for auto population of the details. So they have shifted the burden comfortably onto your head, stating आप देख लो, अपना अपना देख लेना, बाद में extension of due date के लिए कि उसके लिए मत आना, जो है वो यही है. You have to live with it. Put the details once in the e-invoicing portal also and your GSTR 1 also. But the thing is, at least they were, by issuance of this advisory, they have at least accepted to a certain extent that they are inefficient. But over a period of time, definitely it would be there. So that the first major thing was with respect to this e-invoicing. Then another major change from 1st of April is the HSN or the SAC codes. What are the HSN and for goods? Every item is given an HSN code. For services, an SAC code. It is now mandatory to mention the HSN and SAC code or SAC code on the tax invoices. So we would just compare the position before 31st March and after 1st April. So if your turnover was below 1.5 crores, then up to 31st March, it was very much okay that you did not mention the HSN code on your invoice. That was absolutely fine. However, from 1st April onwards, it is 4-digit of your HSN or SAC code have to be mentioned on the invoice. Without that, the invoice would be considered as defective. So it is mandatory to mention up to 4 digits. Then earlier, there were another category carved out of 1.5 crores to 5 crores. And 2-digit of HSN code was okay at that time. Now they have made it to 4-digit. So now only 2 slabs, up to 5 crores and more than 5 crores. Earlier, for more than 5 crores, 4-digit HSN code was mandatory. Now it is 6-digit is mandatory. So the current position is, if your turnover, aggregate turnover is up to 5 crores, then 4-digit SAC code. And if it is more than 5 crores, then 6-digit SAC code has to be mentioned on the invoice. Then they have mentioned this one thing, that provided a proviso is there in the circular, which states that if the aggregate turnover is less than 5 crores in the previous financial year, you may mention the if the turnover is up to 5 crores and an invoice is issued to a unregistered person, then it is okay if you don't mention the HSN code in your tax invoice. So it is only for unregistered person, because the unregistered person is not going to take the credit. So they have given this one small leeway. So now what happens is, there are certain people who print their bill books. Till now, कि वो छोटा डीलर है, हाथ से लिख के देता था, बिल बुक छपवाता था. So now, apart from having a unique invoice number, tax invoice number, you have to keep that HSN code column in the bill book also. It is mandatory. A major question comes up. Okay. Oh, HSN code, SSC code. हिरल भाई, मेरा SSC कोड क्या है? हर रोज हर एक जन पूछेगा अपने चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट को कि अरे व्हाट इज द SSC कोड, व्हाट इज माय HSN कोड, व्हाट शुड आई मेंशन? So for that, this link is provided. That link takes you up to the GST portal, wherein this is the actual portal. Here you will get the HSN code chapter wise, absolutely with the rates and everything. It is mentioned over here. This is the government's official site wherein you can get any details the way you want to find. There are fantastic search options available to you. So say for example, we just search for audit. Okay. Legal and accounting service. So here you have the chapter heading, the SSC code available to you. So this booklet can also be downloaded, or even on the site it is readily available, which is a nice welcome step by the government, so that we don't everybody is at, there are various different websites, various different portals. At times different portals are giving different outputs, so they have given it on their website, then it becomes everybody is confident also, okay, this is good enough to go ahead with. Apart from mentioning the HSN code, this is the screen for filing the return, which we normally have, which we see while filing the returns. So here this the point number 12, which says HSN wise summary of outward supply. So this HSN wise summary of outward supply would have to be provided by us. Earlier it was optional, nobody was looking at it. That was a different story. However, the thing is that now onwards, from 1st April onwards, whichever returns we are filing for the period starting 1st April, we have to provide this summary as well. It is mandatory to provide HSN wise summary of outward supplies. So majorly speaking, these were the two major changes. However, this is one change in the definition of zero rated supply to SEZ.
Hiral bhai, 1 minute. I think for HSN code for export, I think you have to put 8-digit code. That is also a must. And I think this HSN code is basically to see that what sort of goods are there. That's why even internationally this code is there, so that people know what is the product actual. So I think this is what they want, and that's why for export you have to have put 8-digit when you have export invoice. So this is just I wanted to add it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. This change in definition of zero rated supply, this has been passed by the Finance Act 2021. This change has been passed. However, it has not been notified yet. A notification is yet to come that from when would this change be applicable. What is this change about? So what we used to do till date is, when there are goods or services are supplied to SEZ units, maybe an SEZ developer or a SEZ unit. So we would say, okay, they would say we are SEZ unit, and then if LUT is there, then no charging of tax and it goes under zero rated supply. Now what they want to amend is that only authorized operations would be the benefit of zero rated supply would be available only for authorized operations. What would be which operations would be termed as authorized operations? They would notify that as well, and even they would notify that from which date it would be applicable. So these are the this thing we would have to see. The Finance Act, the bill received accent on 28th March 2021, and certain provisions I would say would have retrospective effect from 1st July 2017, that is from when the GST Act has been implemented. So this is one clause which has been effective which would be effective from 1st July 2017, and definitely giving retrospective effect to this clause would open the Pandora's box of litigation, and there would be n number of litigations. What does this clause, addition of clause AA of section to section 7 subsection 1 says? The activities or transactions by a person other than an individual to its members or constituents or vice versa for cash, deferred payment or other valuable consideration. So this basically what they want to add is, most of us would be having the knowledge about the Calcutta Club judgment of the Supreme Court, wherein it was under the service tax arena, wherein the concept of mutuality was discussed, and it was stated by the Supreme Court that it is not chargeable, service tax or VAT was not chargeable to permanent members of the club. However, with this insertion of clause AA to section 7 subsection 1, the impact of basically Ranchi Club judgment you say or Calcutta Club judgment you say, both are nullified. So they just want to widen the scope of supply, wherein they say even the mutuality concept is no more valid, and that also is with effect from 1st July 2017. There were certain clubs which were stating this mutuality concept and not paying GST till date. Now it will be, now the time will come, how would they pay such amount of GST? GST department will start following it up with them, and there will be liability of hundreds and crores of rupees. However, it is, let's see wherein what comes up tomorrow. But as of now, the concept of mutuality has been done away with under the GST law. Pradeep, would you like to highlight anything therein?
Yeah, that is, I think it is under consideration at present because to have a retrospective effect, I think they are backing out from their promise that they initially give that we will not have any other retrospective amendments. But this is what I think they have been backing out. But I think, see, there are difference of opinion because I feel mutuality concept may still hold goods when it comes to a higher level, when it goes to some Supreme Court, and because Supreme Court has held in many, because you cannot give anything to yourself. See, basically that should not be the criteria, but now that they have amended, and I think but it has been put to review, and lots of people have given it to the council, and I hope they will review it, and at least let us not be retrospective. They wish to, it should be prospective. It cannot be, because you cannot just kill a man with this amendments like this. And associations from last, they have, because all were following mutuality concept. And if all of a sudden it gives a retrospective effect, I think that is very harsh. And it is also going against their promise. Estoppel that has to be there, and Supreme Court may put that into it. Let's see what happens. But this is what I wanted to add. Yeah, thank you.
Now, insertion of again clause AA to section 16(2). What does that say? 16(2) AA is sought to be inserted to provide that input tax credit on invoice or debit note may be availed only when details of such invoice or debit note has been furnished by the supplier in the statement of outward supplies, and such details have been communicated to the recipient of the such invoice or debit note. So basically, this is again open to a number of litigation that we had many cases in the erstwhile MBAT Act as well, that if the opposite, it is beyond our control that the opposite person is paying the tax or not, filing the returns or not, and then asking for the taxpayer to be burdened with the additional liability because of the opposite person, it is not justified. However, they have clearly now inserted this, and they have said that okay, you cannot avail ITC which is beyond your GSTR 2A 2B, and the concept of provisional credit has been done away with. No, there is nothing like provisional credit. The entire credit has to be seen, then only it would be given to you. And filing of GSTR 1 filled beyond cutoff date, then ITC will be lost. Now, these are some of the items which are again prone to high level of litigation. Now, let's see what comes up. The basic conditions till date were always that, okay, you have a tax invoice, that is good enough. But here you even say any opposite person has to file the return, they have to pay, then only the credit would be given to you. That is grossly not justified. The further provision which is, I would say, not welcomed by the chartered accountant fraternity or the cost accountant fraternity, it is omission of subsection 5 of section 35. Section 35 was the section, enabling section for the audit of accounts of the taxpayer by specified professionals. Who were the specified professionals? Chartered accountants and cost accountants. They were specified under the act. So they have done away with that section which under which we professionals are supposed to, it was mandatory for us to get the annual accounts audited, but it is, as of now, it has been done away with. So now no more of filing of 9C, no more certification of 9C by a practicing professional. It would be self declaration, self-certified by the taxpayer himself. Now, on the flip side, if we see, when we had on the dais, Kamlesh Vikamsi ji had eminent chartered accountant had told Nirmala Sitharaman ji, finance minister, that this removal of this audit would increase the chances to the maximum that there are mistakes. They say that taxpayer are filing, but the reality is we chartered accountants are doing it for them, and we are putting in the efforts, and because of our certification, there are so many things which are which burdens the department less because we are doing it. Now they say okay, special audits would be done by a department only. There is it is taxpayer friendly step that we are removing the audit provision. Now let's see in future what is the case.
I think Hiral, even if see 9C is a self-certifying things, but do you think the dealers would be in a position to get through that and do the self-attestation? They will have to come for working to us only. That is what basically I think that is a less of a burden to us, and our responsibility really comes down. Yeah, fees, there can be an issue on the fees, but I think it is not basically gone. Let's take that, console ourselves. Okay, it is not gone. GST audit is not gone basically.
Correct, sir.
Yeah.
The last major amendment which I would like to touch upon is a very welcome amendment. कि मतलब वो कचरे के बड़े से ढेर में से हीरा निकाल के दिया है. That is this amendment, again a retrospective amendment, however, which is in favor of the taxpayer, which should always be the case. If there is a retrospective amendment, it should be in favor of the taxpayer, not in favor of the government. So here they have the interest calculation, which was several notices were sent to dealers to pay interest on the gross liability. Gross tax liability, without considering ITC, whatever is the tax liability, pay interest thereon. Say, for example, you have not filed your return on time, and there was 1 crore of tax which was collected, and the input tax credit was to the extent of 99 lakhs. So there was a difference of only 1 lakh rupees. So that 1 lakh rupees interest had to be calculated thereon if there is a delay in payment. However, what government, different commissionerates were sending notices to dealers were, no, pay interest on that entire 1 crore, which would be a very hefty sum. In many cases, much more than the tax payable is the interest liability. So they have brought down that interest would always be calculated on the net cash liability, not on the gross liability. Second thing which they have mentioned is, if cash balance is available in cash ledger, then also interest is applicable. They have, for justification thereof was provided that till the cash balance is in the cash ledger, it is not in the government treasury. Actually speaking, it is there in the government treasury, but it is not allocated. Till the time it is not allocated, interest would be payable by the taxpayer. Just parking the funds in the cash ledger would not absolve the taxpayer from the interest liability. If liability of previous months paid in next period, the interest is applicable on such amount irrespective of availability of credit ledger. Okay, this is also quite fair enough. Now just I'll explain that thing with an example. April month liability is paid in the month of July, whereas the credit ledger was always, the amount was available in the credit ledger, and the liability is paid in the month of July by debiting electronic credit ledger only. So in that case, interest would be applicable under section 50 on the liability. You cannot say कि यार वो अप्रैल में भी कैश क्रेडिट लेजर में तो बैलेंस था, तो हमको क्यों आप इंटरेस्ट भरवा रहे हो? नो, irrespective of whether the amount was available in the credit ledger or not, as I said, it is not allocated yet, therefore interest would be payable. Now I would request Pradeep bhai to
Hello.
Yes, Pradeep bhai, for your remarks, and then
Yeah, we can go for the question answer. Basically, I think you have covered up. And I was just talking about I think one of the most draconian provisions that they had it in the finance bill, clause number 106, in which they have extended this thing. They have given a lot of powers by amending, extending the section 83 subsection 1, giving lot of powers to the commissioner to provisionally attach the bank accounts and the properties of the dealer. And now see, they have taken out the word any registered person. They have now put any person. See, any person, that is what is really, one has to look into it, any person. So now I would request the chartered accountants also will have to be careful, because they may fall under any person. And if they are into that 4 things which they have notified, that if you have issued a bogus invoice, or you have you have sent a goods and not issued a invoice, or you have sent an invoice and not sent a goods, and there are, and then taking ITC and all that. See, and if you are filing, and see what one of the mistakes that we chartered accountants or people who are practicing or into compliance, they give their email ID and their mobile number, because they feel the OTP and all that takes a time and all that. I would request everyone who is here at present, please don't give your mobile number or your email ID, because then you come into the problems if there is any default in this section. And 83(1) now they have made it that any person. So one has to be very careful, because you also come into the net, and they are attaching the bank account even without giving you the so cause notice. Yeah, there is a provision under section 159(5). You have to go to the commissioner within 7 days, and you have to explain your case to him, and then he will issue the DRC 23 and give you the order. Thereby he can release your bank account, but that is time consuming. Imagine if people who are not aware and your bank account is freezed, I think the business is affected and your property. I think this is what one of the most draconian clause that is there in the finance bill, which is giving them lot of powers in section extended power to the commissioner under section 83 subsection 1. I think this is one has to be careful about it. And there is another penalty of like e-way bill, the penalty of 200%. I think this is something which one has to look into it, because it is being misused, and many of the departmental people have been really, I don't have to say that, but they are misusing it, and they are just without giving any reasons or giving any so-cause, they just not even giving you an opportunity to explain, they issue you this provisional attachment order. So I think one has to look into it. This is what I had to warn our chartered accountants, that don't give your email ID or your mobile number when you are doing the registration work and all that, because you feel that you are assisting your client, but it is not so. So one has to be careful about all this. And there are many other mistakes that we go on committing, which one has to look into it and be careful. And another thing is like, see, many of us are not aware of the annual return under GSTR 10. When you cancel your number, you are supposed to file your annual return, which many of us have not been in a position to do it. So I think that also one has to be careful. You have to file your GSTR and GSTR number 10 annual return. There are many other things, but I think time is a constraint, and we can have the question answers, or we can request Ankit to take over the proceedings.
Any questions from any participants? Hiral, there is one question on the chat box. What is penalty for non-compliance of e-invoicing?
Just a second. See, when you are supposed to issue a e-invoice and you are just issuing a normal tax invoice instead of e-invoice, then the consequence thereof would come to the extent that the invoice which is issued per se is an incorrect invoice. So all the penalties for incorrect invoicing would come on the head of the taxpayer who is supposed to issue an e-invoice. The penalty, it would be considered as non-issuance of invoice per se. So 100% of tax due or 10,000 rupees, whichever is higher. So the tax due, you pay the tax due plus the penalty of 100%, and your penalty for incorrect invoicing would be another 25,000 rupees. So it is a very big issue if e-invoice is not issued. Apart from that, on the tax, this was the liability on the taxpayer who was supposed to issue an e-invoice. But as I said, from the other person's perspective, the opposite party would not be able to claim the input tax credit because the e-invoice is not issued and a normal invoice is issued. So this is the consequence. So basically, it is ये जो normal invoice है, e-invoice की जगह पे, that is not an invoice at all. So all the consequences thereof would come into picture.
Sir, any amount of delay that is allowed for the same?
No.
So there is a question related to that. If in April, say for example, the client forgot to issue invoices, then how should he, can he issue now the invoices?
The portal doesn't accept it. And so we don't have a solution to it as such, that what to do if the invoices are missed. But we'll have to wait and watch or find out some kind of a solution. That is, we intimate them that this has been done. Before it comes to us, we intimate them and get the e-invoicing done. Because the invoice, it has always to be issued before the goods are sold. Therefore, so here your time of supply and many things would come into picture, and the penalties would be accordingly.
So one question is from Kirti Jain. In case of GSTR 1, column number 12, whether SSE code is also to be mentioned in that column only?
Yes. When it is HSN, in short, something is mentioned. HSN, they mention HSN means HSN
SSU.
and SSC both.
SSC. Yeah.
Right.
Service accounting.
And in the last slide of the presentation, one question is by Krutika Nadar. If the tax liability is paid in the month following the due date, interest has to be paid even if there is balance in the wait a second.
Credit ledger. In the credit
Ledger. I think you mentioned it was supposed to be paid.
Yeah.
And can this be interpreted as interest has to be paid on gross amount? If not, how
No.
the net liability will be calculated?
No, it doesn't mean that. It is on net liability only. However, when you are allocating the amount from your cash ledger or from your credit ledger, when that allocation happens, till that point of time, it is to be considered. It doesn't mean that it is on gross liability. Never.
So very interesting question we have. What remedies do the buyer have if a supplier not filed their GSTR1?
Pay the tax, bear the tax burden, sir. Monish bhai, we don't have an option available with us. We have to, the buyer has to bear the brunt.
Hiral bhai, I have a question.
At present.
Yes, sir.
In this pandemic, what we see is that all of us are working from home, and so is there with the traders and the assessees. And one of the clauses for the business is that the books of accounts has to be there in the premises. So is there a relaxation on that regard? Because I see that a lot of clients have started maintaining their books of accounts either at their home or on the cloud. So is it allowed, or is there some relaxation in that regard?
Puneet bhai, your representation is required with the GST Council. As of now, there is no provision for this. However, it is something which has to be that has to be put forth to them, that yes, to allow all these things. As of now, it is there is no change, there is no notification, no circular to this effect.
Hey, Hiral bhai,
I believe that there's a penalty heavy for that.
Yeah. No, Punit bhai, one thing you have to keep it in mind. You can, to be on the safer side, you can amend your this thing and put it that this would be an additional place and the books of accounts would be maintained there. That at least will safeguard you from many other hassles.
Very
apart from
solution.
Yeah.
So that I can mention the cloud IP address where I'm maintaining this thing.
Yeah.
Is that allowed to be done? I mean, I don't know how that would be there, because on cloud I just have nothing other than that fixed IP address where I'm saving it on a virtual server.
Punit, see, this is something which was not thought of basically by the council also. But once we represent as what has been stated by Hiral bhai, that also. And the other thing is, see, you can always mail it to your to your concerned officer, jurisdiction officer, that this is what is at present because of so and so. It has been kept here. I think that would really work. It should not be an issue.
Great, sir.
Hello.
I think there's an interesting question, Pradeep bhai, which I would like you to take up. As a chartered accountant, any opportunity you would like to suggest person planning to start practice soon, which is not yet looked upon by CAs at large?
I think this is the young people who can give about all these answers. Basically, there are lots of opportunity. Let me tell you, it's not that chartered accountants are only restricted to GST. Basically, there are many other opportunities which, see, I always feel when some doors are closed, there are many other doors which are being opened. It is only you have to look into it and see that where the opportunity lies, and you have to seize that opportunity. Basically, there were, I think in our only Nilesh bhai has said there are opportunities. I think if one has been listening to those I think our JCAF programs, they would know that there are 2-3 opportunities which I think, who was the speaker at that time? Some Pramod Jain, if I'm not mistaken. He has given us that opportunity. Amrit bhai, I think you would be aware of those. You can also tell what other opportunities are there. And Punit bhai can talk about the tally and all that opportunities which are there into it. Amrit bhai.
Yeah. Friends, see, chartered accountancy profession, in fact, is a highly versatile profession. We get basically the kind of education we all get during this course, our articleship and even our actually the academics. It gives us an edge over various other professionals. We have financial field, we have taxation. In taxation again we have direct tax, indirect tax. In direct taxes again we have international tax, domestic tax, and again in that also super specialization, whether you go into litigation practice or compliance practice. If we go into indirect tax side, also again the same thing: compliance practice, litigation practice, advisory practice. Apart from that, transaction advisory, various fields. Now the new opportunities in the form of RERA are also there. Drafting, conveyancing. Then there is advisory services about mutual funds, wealth management. Means in each and every subject of CA course is basically an area of professional practice. You can get into even accounting. Basically, accounting, we used to think that it is basically Muninji and Mehtaji's job earlier. When we qualified, we thought it in that way. But now the way accounting is being done at international level, basically, there are specialized accounting firms who are doing accountancy, maintaining books of accounts for international clients, small clients, and they get paid in dollars. Means you have to be imaginative that where your forte lies. Basically, each and every subject of CA course is an area of practice. It opens an area of practice. You have to just literally think at least 50 to 100 areas you can definitely look out, basically, and out of that, depending on your skill set, your abilities, and your the way your grooming is there, your contacts are there, you can choose and pick. So it's all up to you, basically. It opens really in n number of opportunities. There is no dearth of opportunities at all. Only thing, my personal advice, and all of you us agree, we need to be away from shortcuts, because shortcuts really not going to give you any edge in life and neither satisfaction in life. So keep away from shortcuts, and definitely if you stay, you have to drive on the highway. Don't go towards by lanes and side tracks and all that. So that is what it is basically. If you drive on highway safely, you are definitely going to reach your destination, and it will be a journey pleasant. Really, that's what my advice to all my young friends. Thank
I
you.
think after the amendment in the charity trust also, that would be a lot of work, I think, for charitable
Yeah,
trust. It's
of course. Yeah.
absolutely, yes, even in cooperative societies, I think there also there is lot of opportunities, if we really look
Absolutely.
into it. So there are lots of, so tell I think who had, don't worry, if you are a chartered accountant, just focus on what is your talent and you will have ample of opportunities. So this taking away of audit and all that is not going to matter much. So this is what is my request. So don't worry, just enjoy what you are doing and do what you like. That is what is my advice. Ankit bhai, this is what I wanted to say. Punit bhai, in your
Very well.
accounting, anything about which is there, the scope, so that you can
No,
also.
very well said,
Yeah.
Amrit Bhai and Pradeep ji. I would like to just add, recently I was in one of the seminars organized by the Bombay Chartered Accountant Society. And then there were two panelists who were founders of a startup. And they are in the verge of starting a new startup, the second startup which they had started. And both of them very clearly mentioned that first thing when they thought of a new startup, they thought of a partner in finance, because they realized that the first time they had made that mistake, and because of which they were slow in achieving the success they could have. So that itself speaks volumes of what we can achieve, and we can help others achieving as well in our profession.
Punit bhai.
Yes, Pradeep bhai, in my view, there are a lot of scope in terms of information technology, and right from business mapping to what Ankit said, that having known what the financial risks are there in any contract or anything of that sort, there's a huge opportunity coming up. And the platforms that JCAF that we've been providing, our entire agenda and aim is that we try and provide not only the technical nitty-gritties of the law, but the knowledge, along with the knowledge, what more opportunities can be provided. And as rightly pointed out the other day, Nilesh Bhai Vikamsi pointed out from what Pramodji discussed, that in case there are, one particular small amendment in Companies Act that the auditor needs to find out any of the shareholders is having any dealing with any bogus company or not. So that just a small amendment, very seemingly small amendment, can bring huge revenue to chartered accountant who can specialize into that kind of service, where he is able to find out the shareholders' relationships and what other companies or bogus companies could be. So as such, there are opportunities galore. It's just that what we like doing it, what we love doing it, we should be doing it. So that's all from my side.
Thank you, Puneet bhai. I think with this, I will come to the pleasant task of giving a very, very, very well-deserved vote of thanks to our today's speaker, Hiral bhai. Hiral bhai, thank you for accepting our invitation, taking us through the recent amendments that have come in GST. And the kind of background that Hiral bhai and Pradeep bhai gave, I believe such kind of sessions would be required on a very regular basis with the kind of amendments GST is bringing in on a regular basis. So we will shortly be organizing more and more such seminars. Hopefully, the number of amendments start reducing from now on. But Hiral bhai, thank you for answering all the questions very nicely and patiently, accepting our invitation. And we all agree it was a very informative and learning experience for all of us. Thank you, Amrit ji. Thank you, Pradeep bhai. Thank you, Puneet bhai, for being there. And I think we should end the session.
Just one announcement for
Yes.
the last session of this series will be on 1st of May, and that will be on charitable trust amendments related to charitable trust under the new Finance Act 2021, and including the new re-registration provisions. Those all will be dealt with by learned speaker Mr. Rajesh Sailot, who is an expert in charitable trust related laws and issues. So that will be on 1st of May, again same time, 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. So that is on Saturday, coming Saturday. So with this, thanks.
Ankit bhai, Jayesh Kala for sparing his valuable time.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jayesh bhai, for sparing a valuable time in this busy schedule that you have. And it is always a pleasure listening to you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Ankit bhai, and thank you all the panelists. Would like to tell everyone that this is a fantastic series up till now, and the last session is on 1st May. Each video is available on JCAF YouTube channel. So if you have missed any video, so kindly go there and must watch for any of the session. It's a learned by all the session is by learned speaker and the chairman. So must watch that. With this, we will meet you all on 1st May, same timing, 8 o'clock. And we are ending this webinar.
Subscribe to this our YouTube channel.
Yes.
Don't forget to subscribe to the JCAF YouTube channel.
Yeah, and also become member of Jain Chartered Accountant Federation if they have not.
Should I think as a president, I would be talking that yes, one should definitely become the member of this excellent, because here, so you will not have this question which was raised that what are the opportunities. If you come to JCF, you will know what are the opportunities. And I'm really thankful to Virag also. He really puts his heart and soul into it, and he gives us every time all this on the YouTube and all that. He keeps it so that people can always, whenever they want, they can always refer to it. Thank you, Virag, and keep on doing this good work. And this is as a president I'm talking, not as a chairman of the session.
Yes.
Do keep it, and I would request everyone now to become the member. And it's what, 1100 rupees, I think. That's nothing. That's nothing comparing to what other people are charging. So please do become a member. This is my request. Thank you. And just take care and stay